observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Sanskrit. Yes, Sanskrit word. Sainya Nirikshan Yog.
Sainya Nirikshan Yog.
So it is observing the armies on the battlefield. So we are identifying different soldiers, Rathis, Maharathis, and a bit of background about them. So the first section, as we had discussed before, of chapter 1 is Sainya Nirikshan Yog, and the second section of chapter 1 is anyone? Not Kalpesh, someone else.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
आपने बोला था। यहाँ बैठो।
So what was the second part of the chapter 1? Yes.
It's open. It's open.
Yes, it was Arjun's lamentation.
Yeah.
Arjuna Vishad Yoga. Yes.
Hmm.
So have we done this before?
Yes.
Sorry Prabhuji, where to go? I couldn't find it.
No, we have done this in the previous discussions. What are the two different sections of chapter 1?
Oh, this one I missed. This one I missed.
Observing the armies and Arjun's lamentation, correct?
Yeah.
Has everyone got that? From which verse to which verse is Arjun's lamentation?
$21 onwards.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen with you. Please have a look.
Just beyond that.
So, chapter 1 to 26, chapter 1, verse 1 to 26 is observing the armies. 1 to 13 is preparations for war, which we are going at the moment, going through at the moment. 14 to 20 is signs of victory. 21 to 26 is Krishna as Bhaktavatsala. We had discussed what is Bhaktavatsala. Anyone, please, would like to explain what is Bhaktavatsala? Have we discussed this before? Bhaktavatsala? Yes. Vikas ji, Manish ji, Smita and Rohan. Anyone? Naisha, Ritambara Mataji. Have we discussed Bhaktavatsala?
Couldn't recall Prabhuji.
No, okay then. All right. So
When,
Bhaktavatsala.
when Krishna provides his services to his bhakta, so that shows his bhakta vatsal, his compassion towards his bhakta. So that's why he's become bhakta vatsal.
Sorry, Mataji, can't hear you properly.
When Krishna shows his compassion towards his bhakta and he provides his services to his bhakta, so being his compassion, he has become bhakta vatsal.
So to whom is he showing his service to? Whom is he serving?
He provides his services to his bhakta. I mean, because of his compassion.
Yeah. So to whom is he? To which bhakta is he providing his service to?
Who surrenders to him.
Yeah. So who is that bhakta in Bhagavad-Gita of his?
Arjun.
Correct. Good. So Krishna becomes the charioteer or the driver or the Rathasarathi of Arjun. So that shows his service to his own devotee, who's none other than Arjun. So that shows that Krishna is Bhaktavatsala. So that is 21 to 26. 27 to 46 is Arjun's lamentation. So there he will start his arguments for not to fight. So we will discuss about his lamentation and his arguments later, but these are the major two sections of chapter 1. Okay. All right. So which verse were we discussing last week?
1.8, I believe.
Okay. And which character did we discuss last week?
Duryodhana and
Yeah, it was Duryodhana
Duryodhana
talking about the Maharathis in his
on his side.
on his side.
Yeah. Did we discuss about anyone in particular?
Karna.
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 Yes. So we concluded about the character of Karna and we discussed how he was virtuous and he had some vicious qualities also. And the reason of the vicious qualities was
Sangha,
his association, correct? His association with
the Kaurav or
Duryodhana,
Duryodhana.
mainly.
Duryodhan. Yes. Okay. So because his association with Duryodhan and he wanted to please Duryodhan, he picked up the bad habits and the bad qualities of Duryodhan. And that's why he had to be, he he suffered a devastating death, he was killed by whom?
Arjuna.
Arjun.
Arjun. And at the time when Arjun killed him, was he prepared to fight?
No.
No.
Okay, so he was not prepared to fight, and yet Arjun killed him. What did Krishna try to prove on this event? One word. No, not Kalpesh.
I have taken notes.
Anyone else, please? Naisha,
Prabhuji can't answer in one word, but in
one word.
particular, yeah, one
One
word
word.
to me.
Yes.
Dharma.
So the word is Shatoshatyam. Did we discuss
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
What is Shatoshatyam? Shatoshatyam means with the cunning you have to be cunning.
Yes.
With the cunning you have to be cunning. Otherwise you will not
Even
be
if
able to
mine,
win.
you have to be clean.
Okay. So we also see the historical figures and historical events in which what
Sorry,
has happened is, yes, Mataji,
could you please tell me that word again, or you just write somewhere so I can pronounce it well?
Shatoshatyam.
Chato Shatyam.
Shatoshatyam.
Chato Shatyam.
Yes, that's a Sanskrit word
Yeah,
which means with the cunning, tit for tat, basically.
yeah.
So you have to be cunning with the cunning. You cannot be
To be right of
acting with
conduct episode.
rules
It's the
for a person who is not following the rules or who is adharmi. You cannot be following the rules and practicing all sorts of rules and regulations against a person who is trying to kill you or trying to defeat you by all sorts of wrong means. Okay, so given the examples of our history as well, you could see the Rajputs or our kings who were killed um, by wrong means, by not following the rules of the war, by many of the Mughal emperors also. So you could just see the history and see that it was done very, um, very ghastly kind of a thing. And because Rajputs and the other kings were following rules and regulations of the war, they were defeated unnecessarily. So does it mean that we should not follow rules and regulations?
No, we should.
We should.
But
But if there is a need, to evaluate and to see if our opponent is cunning, you cannot follow the rules and regulations all the time. You have to use your intelligence in order to deal with him. And Krishna replied to Karna with intelligence by making him count the kind of events he had carried out and the reason why he's getting such kind of a death. So he explained him that at the time of war. Okay, so yes, Manish.
So Prabhuji, in a way, this has become a rule as well. So it's still like, even we are doing this, we are following a rule, isn't it?
Sorry, what rule? Sorry, I didn't get
Shatoshatyam is also a rule then.
Shatoshatyam is not a rule. Basically, what Krishna said to Arjun is that because the other person is not following rules and is an adharmi, there is no reason to follow rules against him. So the rules of the war were that of Kurukshetra war or the Mahabharata war were that you will be fighting with a warrior with weapons. But because he had already broken all the rules, someone who's breaking the rules, you cannot follow the rules and fight with him. You will have to take that opportunity to beat that person so that you can defeat him by following the principle of Shatoshatyam, that if the person is cunning, you may have to be cunning.
So even Ramchandraji did the same with Bali.
With Bali?
Yeah, when he...
yes.
Yes.
Correct. So with the cunning, you have to be cunning. The Shatoshatyam was with Bali. Bali was the brother of Sugriva. Yeah.
But
And
Arjun anyway would have won against.
Sorry?
Arjun anyway would have won against.
Correct.
Karna.
And even Ramchandraji would have won against Bali because Ramchandra is God himself.
And his
yeah.
And
yes,
his Brahmastra was also used against Ghatotkacha. So
no, Brahmastra was not used. Indrastra was used against Ghatotkacha. Yeah.
So Brahmastra, Karna had Brahmastra, is it? No, right?
No, Karna was given Indrastra by Indra.
Correct. And that was used, and he also was not having Kavat Kunjala. So, if Krishna would have told him to have a right fight and defeat Karna, that would have been better a suggestion, isn't it?
That would have been better, but what Krishna wanted to prove was, what Krishna wanted to conclude was, with the cunning, you may have to be cunning.
Okay.
Prabhuji, we have lost your voice.
You able to hear me? Yeah. So with the cunning, you may have to. So similarly, the prasanga which Manish ji raised was Bali and Ramchandra ji. Ramchandra ji could have easily killed Bali, no problem. But to show it to the world that with the cunning, you have to be cunning sometimes. These pastimes are performed by the Lord. Does it clarify, Vikas ji?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now we'll continue reading 1.8 just to understand a bit more. So what is the verse in 1.8? Can every one of you please open that verse now? I'll share my screen. Okay. We'll read this verse again. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Kripascha Samitinjaya
Kripascha Samitinjaya
Ashwathama Vikarnascha
Ashwathama
Somadattistatthaiva cha. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Bhavan
Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Kripascha Samitinjaya
Kripacharya Samsanjaya
Ashwathama Vikarnascha
Ashwathama Karnascha
Somadattistatthaiva cha.
Somaditya.
So we discussed about Karna.
Very good.
Now Bhishma will be discussed in the next verse because there will be a comparison from Duryodhan between Bhishma and Bhima. That will be the next verse. But we will discuss about Kripa. Anyone knows who's Kripa?
Kulguru of Hastinapur.
Okay, so his name was Kripacharya.
Kripacharya.
So Kripacharya, anyone knows how Kripacharya was related to Bhavan? Before that, who's Bhavan?
Prabhuji, your voice is breaking a bit.
Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Background.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, who's not able to hear me? Okay, who's Bhavan?
I think it's Dronacharya.
Yes, so Duryodhan is talking to Dronacharya as Bhavan. So what is the address of Bhavan? As someone respectable. Okay, so how is Bhavan related to Kripacharya? So everyone knows Kripacharya and everyone knows who's Bhavan. Bhavan is Dronacharya. How is
Dronacharya.
Kripacharya related to Dronacharya?
Brother-in-law, Kripi was it's Dronacharya, twin sister of Kripacharya.
Correct. So Kripi was the sister of Kripacharya, who was also the wife of Dronacharya.
Dronacharya.
And who was their son? Kripi and Dronacharya's son?
Ashwathama.
Ashwathama. Yes. So Kripacharya was the brother-in-law of Dronacharya. Now, before okay, we'll understand Kripacharya, Ashwathama, and then we will discuss Vikarna and son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava. Okay, so before the Mahabharata began, the fight began, there were two obstructions. I mean, the roadblocks. The war was looking at the opponents were looking at these kind of roadblocks. One was Arjun's lamentation, which we will be discussing after verse 26 in this chapter. And there was a second thing which was kind of an analytical aspect for the Pandavas in terms of fighting the war. It was when the war was just about to start, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he went to take the blessings of all the elders. So first he went to Bhishma and touched his feet. So Bhishma, when Yudhishthir went touched the feet of Bhishma and took his blessings, he said that, "Hey Pitamaha, nobody can defeat you. You cannot be killed. So guide me. How should we fight this war?" So Bhishma told him that you just go and fight. When the time comes, I will tell you how to kill me. That was Bhishma's response to Yudhishthir. So Yudhishthir took his blessings and went forward. Next, he went to Dronacharya. So when he went to Dronacharya, he asked the same question that Guru Drona, you are undefeatable. You are the master. You are our Guru. You know the warrior. You are a perfect warrior and undefeatable warrior, how will we be able to defeat you? He said to him that when I receive a news of my near and dear relative's death, I might be struck, and I might drop my weapons, and that would be the time to kill me. So he gave that solution to Yudhishthir. And then Yudhishthir went to Kripacharya. Kripacharya had the boon that he can never be killed. And Kripacharya was one of the 12 people who were the survivors of Mahabharat war. So there were only 12 survivors of Mahabharat war. Anybody would like to tell me the remaining 11? I mean, if at all I can see here, I only see 2 or 3 people. Others have taken a break any which ways. So whoever is available can please show me their faces would be good, so that I know I'm not talking to a wall. And try to be interactive and think if they can give the names of the survivors of Mahabharat war. So one was Kripacharya, because he could not be killed.
Five Pandavas and Ashwathama.
Okay. So we'll go one
Ashwathama.
by one. We'll go one by one. Okay. So it's Kripacharya. So I've already given a clue. There were 12. Okay. So first was Kripacharya, already gone. So now among the 11 we go. Okay. Ashwathama. Then next 5 Pandavas, which makes it 6. Altogether 7, including Kripacharya. 7. Yes. Krishna 8.
Bhishma Pitama.
Krishna is
Well-
Krishna is calculated. Okay, we go one by one so that we keep the count. Anybody can keep a count for me, please? Kalpesh, can you keep a count, please? Okay. So first was Kripacharya, we already discussed. Second was Ashwathama. Third was Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna. 5 Pandavas. So that makes the total to
8.
8.
8.
There are 4 more.
Bhishma Pitama.
Bhishma Pitama was not a survivor, no.
So because he had the boon that he can only die if he wishes to.
Yes, so he wished to die. So he was
Yeah, but he gave up his life.
But on his own. But he survived the war, and then he gave it up.
No,
on his
so he
own.
was not a survivor of the war. He was dead. I'm talking about the ones who were not dead, survivors, who were alive. Okay, I'll change my question. Who were alive after the Mahabharat war. So 8 are done.
Who fought in the war, correct?
Not necessarily. There was one who didn't fight among the 12. Sorry?
Dhritarashtra.
Dhritarashtra, yes, but he was not a part of the war, so we can avoid him. Yeah.
Draupadi.
Sir, what about that the grandson of the Pandavas?
Sorry?
The grandson of the Pandavas.
Who was the grandson of the Pandavas?
What is it? Was it Parikshit?
Grandson of the Pandavas, Parikshit, but he was not even born that time.
Yeah, he wasn't even born.
Okay. So, sir, that would make him a survivor, right?
Okay, I don't know in medical terms though.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if we have a doctor
I studied
here
law,
who can
so we're going
confirm.
by that.
All right. So let's come back to the numbers. It was 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a guess, Shikhandi.
Shikhandi was dead as well.
Shali.
Shalya was dead as well.
Dead.
Balram.
Sorry?
Balram wasn't fought, I think.
He didn't fight the war. He was against it.
No, he did not fight the war. That's right.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll give you the 4 names. They might be difficult for you. So one was Satyaki. We have already discussed Satyaki. Another one was Kritverma.
Kritverma. Okay.
Another one was Krishiketu and Yuyutsu.
Oh, sorry, last one, Guruji.
Yuyutsu.
Okay.
So I'll tell you. We have already discussed Satyaki and Kritverma. I'll tell you who's Krishiketu and Yuyutsu. Krishiketu was a son of Karna, who was a survivor. Yuyutsu was the son of Dhritarashtra, who fought against the Kauravas on the side of Pandavas.
Oh.
Yeah. Yuyutsu.
He was one of the 100?
He was one of the. Okay, now another question. How many children did. Who's talking to me without. I can't see that person.
This is Rohan.
Oh, sorry, Rohan. Sorry, Rohan. I thought it was Harideya because I haven't seen Harideya today. Neither Tina. Maybe they are taking a break. That's fine. Okay, so. Sorry, Rohan, you said something. I missed it.
So, was he one of the 100?
Yeah, good question. So, I ask you a question. How many children did Dhritarashtra have?
101.
101.
101.
So, Dhritarashtra had 101 legitimate children.
100
One child was from his maid. And his name was Yuyutsu.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So he had 102 children.
Okay.
Yeah. 101 because 100 were the sons. So children means including the
one daughter.
So one daughter whose name was Dushala. Dushala was married to Jayadratha. Who said that?
Manisha.
Yes, Manisha. Very good answer. Thank you. So she was married to Jayadratha.
Jayadratha.
Yes. Anyone knows who is Jayadratha? Now it's like, the can of worms. It keeps on opening. Yeah. It's very interesting. Okay. So Jayadratha was the son of a rishi called Vridhakshatra. Vridhakshatra. And Jayadratha had received a boon. Vridhakshatra. And Jayadratha had received a boon from his father Vridhakshatra, who was a rishi, that whoever tries to kill you, and if he chops off your head, and if your head drops on the floor, even with the body or without the body, the person who has damaged you or tried to kill you, that person's head will blast into pieces. That was the boon given to Jayadratha. So we'll talk about this particular prasanga later when we talk about Arjun. So this was the background of Jayadratha, who was the husband of Dushala, who was the daughter of Dhritarashtra. Okay? All right? Now, so that is one part. All right. Yuyutsu, coming back to Yuyutsu. Yuyutsu was the son of Dhritarashtra, but not the legitimate son. His mother was a maidservant. Okay? So Yuyutsu, that is the name. Yuyutsu. Anyone recollects anything with this name, Yuyutsu? Anyone remembers the first verse of Bhagavad-Gita? I think Manisha had said that last time.
Yes. Now someone
The whole
else.
verse. Can someone else please recite the first verse of Bhagavad-Gita, please, without looking into the book? She's already reciting, so she already giving you, or someone is reciting, already giving you the hints. So please continue if someone would like to volunteer. Okay, yes, go for it, Smita.
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युयुत्सवः. That's where his name.
Yes, correct. You can complete the verse if you like.
मामकः पाण्डवाश्चैव Kim Akurvat Sanjaya.
Very nice. Very good. Fantastic. So, Yuyutsava. What is the meaning of Yuyutsava?
Desiring to fight.
Correct. Desiring to fight. That is the meaning of or wishing to fight. Yuddha. It is Yuyutsu is a word. It's an adjective from the verb root, which is Yuddha. So, from the verb Yuddha comes the adjective Yuyutsu. Yuyutsava. Desiring to fight, willing to fight. So Yuyutsu was the son of Dhritarashtra who chose to fight against Duryodhan. So when the war started, when the armies were standing, before the war could start, any war in those times, there was an announcement made that whoever wishes to change parties can do it now. And many of the soldiers went here and there. Yuyutsu was he was a Maharathi. He was a Maharathi who chose to fight for Pandavas, for Dharma. And he went to this. And that is the reason why everyone has taken a break, it seems. Is it? I can't see anyone now.
I think must be the bandwidth, Guruji. Yes.
Yeah.
Possible. Yeah, sorry, my bad. So Yuyutsu chose to go there, and that is one of the reason why Duryodhan took his brother's name, Vikarna's name,
Hmm.
in the list of Maharathis, because he was having a doubt that because Yuyutsu went on that side, Vikarna may also go. Because Vikarna was one of the brothers of Duryodhan who had raised a voice against him at the time of Draupadi Chiraharana.
Yeah.
Okay, so see how the politics is going on in the battle, just before the battle, and that's why Duryodhan is very calculative in taking the names of people whom he is glorifying. Okay, so all right, so Yuyutsu was one of the survivors. There were 12 survivors altogether. So coming back to the discussion which we were at, that was the Kripacharya. So Yudhishthir was taking blessings from all the seniors. So he went first to um, Bhishma, then Drona, and then he went to Kripacharya. Kripacharya was someone who could not be killed. He had a boon like that. But he was also the warrior who did not have special weapons. He did not have, in today's world, he did not have nuclear weapons with him. So he did not have any special weapons with him. He did not have a Brahmastra. He didn't have any Mayavi Shakti with him. So when Yudhishthir went and took blessings of Kripacharya, Kripacharya said that, I know that I cannot be killed, but I am defeatable because I do not have any special weapons. So go and fight the war. So this is the blessing he gave him. So these are different blessings which Yudhishthir got before the war when he went and touched the feet of multiple seniors who were fighting against him. So Kripacharya was one of them. Okay, we'll go back to the verse. The next is Kripa, then Ashwathama. So Ashwathama was another one of the survivors who who was also the commander in chief for the last night of the war, who went and killed a few soldiers. He also killed Shikhandi, I think, and 5 sons of Pandavas when they were sleeping, thinking that they were Pandavas. He went it that the last night. That was Ashwathama. He's also mentioned in this verse. Vikarna is also mentioned in the verse. So everybody knows, hopefully by now, who was Vikarna. And then son of Somadatta, called Bhurishrava. Now, Bhurishrava was the son of Somadatta. And Somadatta, anyone knows who was Somadatta? Yes. Okay. Can anyone guess what Somadatta? What was the lineage, or what was the um, the, how do we say that? Which generation was Somadatta from? I mean, you can give a parallel. Please.
Sorry, Abhijit, I have muted you because there is a lot of background noise coming from you. Really, very strong disturbance.
Okay. So, one small request to everyone, that this is very focused understanding of Bhagavad Gita. Please see to it that you sit in a very quiet place. In a secluded place would be ideal, so that there is no background noise, and you have a book in front of you, a table, so that you can focus, because these are very important topics. So it's good for you to understand them, and this will give you a background to understand Bhagavad Gita further. Otherwise, you lose it. You will not be able to have the, and please read them also when we finish. So after we finish our sessions, please read whatever we have discussed in your notes, in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, in the book, and the links we have given you. All right. So coming back to my question, who was Somadatta? So Bhurishrava, Somadatta. What generation were these? Anyone?
What generation? King of Bahalikas.
Okay, good. Who said Bahalika?
Smita?
Very good. Who was Bahalika? So Bahalika was the father of Somadatta. So Bahalika was the father of Somadatta, and Somadatta was the father of Bhurishrava. Okay. Now, Bahalika was the elder brother of Shantanu. Now, Naisha will tell me who is Shantanu.
Can't recall properly. Sorry.
Okay. Anyone recalls? We had discussed it in the last week.
Yes, I
So,
can.
yes, who can answer me,
The
please?
first king,
Manisha.
Sorry.
Satyavati and King.
Who's
Yeah, yeah.
who's talking? I can't see.
He was successor of Bharat. King
Bharat,
Bharat.
Who
yeah. Now I can recall.
who is talking?
Manisha.
Manisha. Yes, Manisha. Please stay. Yeah, carry on.
He was successor of Bharat, King Bharat.
Okay. So Bhurishrava was okay. Sorry. So Shantanu was the successor of King Bharat. Correct. So Shantanu, who was the son of Shantanu?
Bhishma.
Bhishma. So if we take the generation of Bahalika was Shantanu's generation. So the next generation was Bhishma after Shantanu. So his generation was Somadatta. So Bhishma's generation was Somadatta. And then we had Bhurishrava, who was the son of Somadatta. So we are just equating everyone. So after Bhishma, who was that? Pandu,
Prabhuji, I have doubt, a little doubt.
or was it Vichitravir?
Chitra.
Vichitravir.
So after Bhishma, it was who? Vichitravir and Chitrangad. Was that the same generation, or was it the same generation as Bhishma? You have to really think carefully
The
now.
Bhishma was eighth son of Shantanu.
That's
They were
okay.
step brothers.
My question is different. So is Bhurishrava in the generation of, or Somadatta? Okay, let's go Somadatta. Somadatta was in the generation of Bhishma, right? So who is in the generation of Bhurishrava?
Vichitravir and
Vichitra Veer.
No, I think the next
Chitravir and
generation.
Chitragandha.
So who first you'll have to tell me who's talking, and then you will have to answer, please.
So Shantanu.
So Bhurishwara was
Bhurishrava.
from Bhurishrava was a part of was part of generation of Vichitravir and Chitragandha.
Everyone
Chitrangad.
agrees to that? Is he the same generation, Bhurishrava?
No,
Okay, who says
No,
no?
sir.
Manisha.
Manisha and Randhir are saying no. Okay. So whose generation is Bhurishrava?
I think Pandu and
Hindu and
Dhritarashtra.
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 Why would you say so?
Right.
Because
Because it's the third generation.
there was a gap between them.
Bhishma ki jagah.
Bhishma and Chitrangad and Vichitravir, but it's not the generation. I won't call it a generation
Correct.
gap.
Because if you see Vichitravir and Chitrangad, they were sons of Satyavati, which is equal to, because sons of Shantanu. So it is equal to Bhishma. So
Bhishma.
Vichitravir and Chitrangad will be the same generation of
Bhishma.
Bhishma.
And
So if
Somdar.
you go further down, then it is Pandu and Dhritarashtra. So they were in the generation of Bhurishrava.
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 Now you can look at Bhurishrava as to what generation is he from. Bhurishrava is the generation of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. So he's like a father's figure for Duryodhan. Okay, just to identify the soldiers.
Yeah.
Sen Nirikshan Yoga. Okay. Yes, Naisha, you were saying something.
Prabhuji, मैं थोड़ा confused हूँ. I'm like bit confused
So
from
are you making
starting.
notes? Are you making notes?
No, not
So
today.
you will have that confusion quite some time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
You find a nice place for yourself to sit. You can sit on the table and chair if it's possible.
I will
And
let you
right
know.
now,
Actually, I got some back injury, so
okay,
can't sit long for.
that's no problem. But
Yeah,
then you can carry a notebook or something
yeah, I'll
with
do
you,
that.
so you
Yeah,
can write that. Yeah, or you can listen to the previous discussions also.
thank
You will
you.
get the clarity. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is now the generation which Duryodhan is speaking to. Now, if you see, he's mixing all the generation and speaking, but he is taking the names very politically so that he gets the support. So we'll go to the next verse now, 2.9. Sorry, 1.9. All right, I'll share my screen. I think we did discuss this verse. So I'll ask a couple of questions on this one before we move to 1.10. I'll share my screen with you. Okay. 1.9. अन्ये च बहवः शूरा
अन्ये च बहवः शूरा
मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः
मदर्थते तत्यजीविताः
नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः
नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः
सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः
सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः.
There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military science. So we had discussed this verse in our last discussion, last week's discussion. So my question to you, all of you, is what is Takta Jivitaha?
Ready to give up their lives.
Prepared to risk for life.
Yes. So we discussed in our last week's discussion that there is, in Sanskrit, we have multivalence of words. Satyakta jivita can also mean something else. What could be that meaning? This is multivalent word.
Those who are already dead.
Yes, correct. So Saraswati Mata, who is the goddess of knowledge, is making Duryodhan speak. Of course, he's trying to speak very diplomatically, very carefully, as a politician speaks. But the multivalence of this words also is deriving to that these people are already dead because they are supporting me. So someone hears that who is a Sanskrit expert, he might understand that meaning also. This is what the Tyakta Jivitaha means. So that is the important word in this particular verse. Nana Shastra Paranana, different various weapons, expert experience in military science, but they are already dead because they are supporting me. Okay. Now we'll read 1.10.
Guruji, Randhir had a question, I think.
Oh, sorry.
May not be seen.
Can I see you,
Sorry,
Randhir?
sir.
If you have a
I'm in
question.
my nephew's room.
That's okay.
Can you
Fine.
hear me?
I can definitely hear you. What is your question?
So the thing is, this reference that they're already dead, isn't it actually relating in the next chapter too? When, in case of his lamentations,
I can't
when
comment on that, Randhir,
Shri
because
Krishna.
nobody knows about chapter 2 here.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
You've got about 60 verses to reach there. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right, Randhir. No problem. But we can talk about it tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Please raise it up if it's possible, and we will discuss tomorrow.
Sure.
Thank you for understanding, Randhir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will read from 1.10 now. Please open the verse 1.10, 1.10. Okay. You able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Aparyaptam tadasmakam
Tasmakam
balam bhishmabhirakshitam
Balam
Bhishmabhirakshitam
paryaptam tvidame
Paryaptam
Paryaptam
Videsham
Tvedesham
balam bhimabhirakshitam
Balam Bhimabhirakshitam
Bhimabhirakshitam
aparyaptam tadasmakam
Aparyatam
Aparyatam
Tadasmakam
Tadasmakam
balam bhishmabhirakshitam
Balam
Balam
Bhishmabhirakshitam
Bhishmabhirakshitam
paryaptam tvidame tesham
Paryaptam
Paryaptam
Tridesham
Tvedesham
balam bhimabhirakshitam
Balam
Balam
Bhimabhirakshitam
Bhimabhirakshitam
aparyaptam tadasmakam
Aparyatam
Aparyaptam
Tadasmakam
Tadaskam
balam bhishmabhirakshitam
Balam
Balam
Bhishmabhirakshitam
Bhishmabhirakshitam
paryaptam tvidame tesham
Paryaptam
Tvidesham
Tvedesham
balam bhimabhirakshitam
Balam
Balam
Bhimabhirakshitam
Bhimabhirakshitam
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. So very nice verse and also shows the multivalence of Sanskrit words again. If you read this verse, there are two words here, aparyaptam and paryaptam. These two words are the same. Bhishma Bhirakshitam, Bhima Bhirakshitam. So first one is for Bhishma, second one is for Bhima.
He's protected.
So first says that aparyatam tadasmakam balam. That Bhishma balam, the strength of Bhishma is aparyaptam, immeasurable, as translated here. And the second one says that Bhima bala, Bhima's bala is paryaptam, is limited. So he's trying to compare Bhishma with Bhima. So when he's trying to compare this, he is saying that it is limited, we are immeasurable. Now, if you look at this word, aparyaptam, the English translation is immeasurable, but that's the nearest translation. It's very difficult to translate Sanskrit words. But when we try to translate a word like this, aparyaptam, it is like a prefix in front of an adjective. So when you have a prefix before an adjective, like here, immeasurable. So measurable is an adjective and im is a prefix. So when you add a prefix, it can emphasize the quality or it can negate the quality. So I'll give you an example. The first one we can take up is valuable. So if I say valuable is an adjective, it's a valuable gift. So gift is a verb, valuable an adjective. And if I add a prefix in front of it like in, invaluable. So if I say invaluable, that will intensify the meaning of the word. Invaluable means it's great. It's like of too much value. It doesn't have a limit. So it's invaluable. So in here, it intensifies the quality. But on the other hand, if I take up a word like substantial, which is also an adjective. So if I say substantial, and if I add a prefix in front of the substantial, say insubstantial, the meaning is it doesn't have any substance. So it negates the meaning of that word. So it's not an intensifier, but it is a negator. So prefix can intensify or negate the meaning. So here, if I put the same context here, paryaptam, it can mean that measurable, immeasurable. It can also mean adequate.
Yes.
So when I say measurable, immeasurable means it intensifies the balam of Bhishma. But if I say paryaptam as adequate, paryapta as we use that word, in Hindi also, which is adequate. So if I say aparyapta, it is inadequate. Inadequate means not enough. Not adequate. So it changes the meaning of the word if we use the prefix in the meaning. So multivalence of this word, again Saraswati, when you talk about them, the goddess of knowledge, she's trying to say something here. So that's how, when we try to understand these Shastra, it is very important to read the different commentaries which we are reading at the moment of Srila Prabhupada. So Shastra can be understood how we would like to understand, or it can be understood as the way they are. So when we read Bhagavad-Gita, we should try to understand the way it is. So when we talk about aparyaptam, I'll show you a slide which I had prepared. So, sorry, my battery of the computer is going. I'll just plug in quickly. Sorry. So when we talk about aparyaptam in terms of immeasurable, which is the intention of Duryodhan, which is trying to say that we have Bhishma on our side and his strength is immeasurable. He is intensifying it. That is intention. But on the other hand, it also means that it is inadequate. And the reason why it is thought like that is because although Bhishma has a lot of strength and skills, but with the motivation and the will to fight is more with Bhima. Bhima has a better motivation, a higher motivation, and the zeal to fight, whereas Bhishma lacks in the zeal to fight. So Duryodhana also has this, the background of his mind, that although I have Bhishma, but he is not as motivated as Bhima. That is why there is a comparison of Bhishma with Bhima. He's not comparing here with apples, unfortunately. That is one of the reasons where the acharyas say that he's trying to compare it with Bhima, because Bhima is ferocious. He's waiting. And the reason why Bhima is ferocious, waiting to fight against Duryodhan, can anybody tell me?
Because of Panchali?
Okay, because of Panchali. Can you elaborate?
Um, because Duryodhan brother Dusashan, he hold Panchali's hair. He dragged Panchali with her hair. So it was disrespectful for Bhima to Pratigya.
Okay, so Bhima took an oath
Mhm.
that I will kill Dushasan.
Mhm.
And the way he wanted to kill Dushasan was to tear his chest apart and take his blood from the heart. And Draupadi had taken the oath that she will keep her hair open until she shampoos her hair with that blood.
Blood, yeah.
Okay. So she kept her hair open till the time when she got the blood of Dushasan. So the eagerness of Bhima for the war was much higher than Bhishma. So what would you see in a person, whether you see his skills or whether you see his motivation? I think in today's times, the most important thing for any employer per se to find an employee is the motivation of a person,
Motivation, yeah.
which is very difficult to find. That's why you have, a series of interviews where they try to find out, are you really having the passion, the zeal to do what you would like to do? So motivation is always higher than the skill. That is what is understood by this verse. I have a slide with me on this one, but I think because we are almost done with the session, I will show this slide to you next time and we'll also cover the next verse. But this is the main gist of this verse. That Bhishma, although being so powerful, who cannot be defeated by anyone, is compared to Bhima because Bhima is very high in motivation. So the point is that a person's motivation is always important than his outer skills. So under Bhishma, we are not adequate, but under all of you others, we are adequate. That is what Duryodhana is saying. So he's inspiring the other warriors also by saying this, that because Bhishma does not have that much of motivation, I need all the others. Please be supportive to Bhishma. That's what he's going to continue in the next verse. Okay.
Prabhuji, if you like, we can go ahead and do one more verse if
Yeah.
everybody is available.
Do you have any questions or comments so far, or do you want me to do one more verse? Because it's 4:04 at the moment. We started at 3 today. So wonder if you want to keep the tempo and the suspense for next time, and let everyone read what we have done so far, so that they can be more interactive, which I would love to. Yeah. Yes, Smita.
Sorry, there's one part which I didn't understand. When you spoke about Tyakta Jivitaha, the multivalence words, you said that Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati, is making Duryodhana speak in that way. I think I didn't understand
Okay.
how that comes in.
Okay. So the words which we speak, or when we use, so there are sometimes we speak without thinking. Ideally, it should not be done. We should speak after we think. We should never be speaking or thinking after we speak. That's a wrong way of communication. So when we think and we speak, it is the buddhi which is activated first, and then the vani. So the buddhi is basically, so if you see, any kind of energies which we use are provided by variety of demigods. So if you count the number of demigods, we have it very difficult. It's in millions and millions. So the reason why we have this, because we are using multiple energies, and these demigods are the proprietors of those energies. So when we utilize that energy, and I mean when we utilize this energy and imply and apply it in our lives, we are basically getting it from a source, and that source is no one but a demigod. So the way this all are explained in a way that in today's world, if you see, we use matter for the energy, but in the Vedic times it was not just the matter, but it was also the mantra which was used for the source, for the source of the energies. So today, like if you take an example of nuclear weapon, so nuclear weapon is built by science by using the matter. So it can destruct. You can use a lot of matter and your theories and your scientific knowledge to make a nuclear weapon. But in olden days, during the Vedic times, a person will not do all this kind of hard work. He will focus and try to please the demigod associated with it and get the weapon from that demigod. So when we are using certain energy, like even when you're using the buddhi, so that the reason I give you this background is because unknowingly we always get this energy from somewhere. Someone has it more, someone has it less. It depends on the kripa he has from that particular energy and his background karma. But when we use our buddhi, it and the knowledge basically to speak or to be diplomatic or to be analytic, that source is coming from Saraswati.
Okay.
Prabhuji, sorry, Prabhuji, what is that when sometimes it happens that we knew it that we didn't know about? I mean, whatever we are speaking, like many times it happens with me, like when I work, I usually take classes. So when I take classes, so sometimes I later on I realize this I didn't even know. How did I answer? How did I talk about this? And then later on I never get answered from where did it come in my mind and how did I speak at that time.
Yeah, so that
What
is That is memory basically. So if you look at memory, now you might not be able to remember what you did when you were 4 year old,
Mm.
but you may remember what you did last year's, not completely, but vaguely. But you may remember something which you had done last year.
And all
So,
of a sudden it comes in
so
my
there are many things you may remember now also, which you might have done in childhood, but in specific ones. So some things are there which are there in our subconscious, but not consciously active. So those things which you are speaking out of the blue, which they're coming out from your subconscious. They are like passive state, in dormant state, and then they suddenly come out. So when there is an event, they just come out and you are able to speak. So sometimes the subconscious of a person is very strong. And so when the subconscious is very strong, he may also remember about his past life. So there are many cases which you can find. I mean, there are many cases and case studies about people remembering about their past life. So the subconscious there is very strong. Yeah. We also have a subconscious, like you get dreams from your subconscious, but not necessarily logical. But yeah, so whatever you get, which you have not actually studied or you have any knowledge about it, but you get an answer that you may have heard, you may have done something, but it is not in an active conscious state, but it is in your subconscious. Does make sense?
Mm.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
That's why
Yes.
they say sometime like sleep on it. So if you have a problem, then they say like sleep on it, and in the morning we'll discuss.
Yes. So you can forget about it.
Yeah, because in the sleep as well, like when you're thinking, then these ideas they come to your mind,
Yeah.
and then in the problem you will wake up and you will say, yes, I know how to solve it.
Yeah. Sleep has different categories also. It's a whole topic by itself. I'll just give you a brief on that. There are 3 different stages when you sleep as well. So one is when your senses are active. So you may be twisting and turning when you're sleeping. Then after you sleep, you stop twisting and turning. You start dreaming. That means when your mind is active. So that is also not sleep basically. It's still awake because the mind is active. And then when after that, when there are no dreams, basically, that is called the deep sleep. And if you get that sleep for about 2 to 3 hours, your body is rejuvenated. But it's hard to be in that sleep. So mind doesn't go inactive. And that is why to keep the mana or the mind in that state where it does not think too much, that's why we use mantra for. So that we can cleanse the mind, which is mantra. That's why it is ideal to do a mantra before you sleep so that the mind is cleansed. So there are no dreams. Yes, Ritambara Mataji.
So usually when in our sleep, and then sometimes we sleep in the morning, and then we know that we are dreaming something. So we should
Yeah.
avoid to sleep. We should wake up. I think that's not the that's not the good thing to sleep at that time. When
Ideally, a deep sleep is when you don't have any dreams. You don't know, just don't know about anything. So if you're dreaming, that means it's not a good sleep,
it's
unfortunately. Yeah. The mind is active. Did I answer your questions, Nilchi?
yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, very clear, very clear. Thank you so much.
And one more thing was when you said about drawing energy from different demigods or gods at that time.
Yes.
Uh, I don't know if it is the same thing, but our previous generation, like our parents and all, they have these shlokas for specific things. Like if you are feeling fear, then they have a Narsim shloka, Narsim japa
Yes.
or a shloka.
Yep. Yep.
For sleep, there is one. So
Yes. Absolutely.
there was one
Absolutely.
for practically every situation.
Yeah. So when we talk about any shlokas, or specifically they are called mantra. So mantra means manastrayate iti mantra. So something which purifies the mind or cleanses the mind. is called mantra. Basically, mind is nothing but a repository of images and thoughts. So if that is cleansed, this is what happens during the night. So when you sleep, if you're stressed, when you sleep, basically it's all in the mind. You have all those thoughts. You have been meditating, focusing upon something which is irritating you over a period of time, and you are stressed. And then you sleep over it, as Manishji very well said. And you, in the morning, those thoughts are gone. That means you are fresh now. Now you can think about something else. Basically, it is to cleanse or to clear that repository of all those thoughts and images. And mantra does that because it shifts your focus from those thoughts to something else. That's why those shlokas, those mantras are important.
And the Maha Mantra is for everything, for all the
Yes,
situations,
yes.
for all
That is
the
why it is called Maha Mantra, the most
situations.
pious, the topmost. Yes. And that is what we were trying to chant on that night on Janmashtami. That is the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I missed that the Mashmi
Oh,
night.
that's okay. That's okay. You chant any which ways, which is good. Yeah, yeah. So if you see the yagya also, Smita, just to add to your comment, if you see yagya also, so it starts with all the demigods. So if you see any fire sacrifice, which you have seen in marriages or even in, when you have housewarming or all kinds of events or ceremonies, you do a yagya or a havan, as you call it. So in that you do a fire sacrifice, and in that you are giving the ahuti.
Ahuti, yes.
So it starts with Agni. So Agni is the first demigod who is the gate of all the gods. So it's not something is going down, it is actually entering into the demigods. So Agni, Jal, Vayu, Akash, Chandrama, all those they carry up to Vishnu. So when you are doing the Ahuti, it starts with Agni. Agni is the the, the corridor or the entry towards all the demigods, where you are actually trying to reach Vishnu, the highest demigod. So you start with Agni, Vayu, Jala, Akash, all these. So Agni takes you there. So it's not anything to burn. Agni is making you, Agni is the first demigod who makes you enter into the world where you can reach the top.
So is it relevant? I mean, when the person get dead, so they also the body get burned. So that is also the kind of
Correct. That is the entry. Agni is the first demigod to touch. That's
okay.
why. Yeah,
So the
yeah.
body burned and then it
Yeah,
goes
you can
up.
relate to that. Yeah, the
Okay.
soul depart. Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then and the people who don't burn, like the other community Muslim people, so they
You know
just
why that is happening? You know why does that happen?
no, I don't know.
No?
I was
Okay. So I'll just give you the brief about that because it's a different topic altogether. So the reason why, because that's a bodily concept of life. There is no soul in that. So what they think, they don't think that that person is going to get another body. That's why they preserve the body.
yeah.
That's why they deck up the body. It's the body is perfumed. They put very nice dresses and everything because they think that that same body is going to carry it to the heaven.
Okay, so that's why they don't burn it and they keep it in the mud,
That's
bury
right.
in the mud. So
That's right.
from that it buried they will go to the heaven.
The thought is that this body is to be preserved, which will be taken by that person to heaven. So same body is preserved. That's why it is decked up, very nicely dressed up, perfumed, everything, put it in a nice box, and then it
But
is kept.
anyway, the body will be ruined and then they get smelled and all that. So what is
That's
the
why it is a belief, not a realization, unfortunately. Yeah. Realization is
and
higher
that's
than
why
beliefs. Yeah.
and I heard that that's why the booth pret is mostly in them, like because
No, no, no. That is a different thing altogether. Booth Pret is a different agenda altogether. Okay. So do you want some brief on that as well now or next week?
it's very interesting. I don't
Next
mind
week,
right
I
now,
think.
but it's up to
Okay. Two
everybody.
minutes, I'll give you brief on that one. So if you think about the soul and this body, basically the understanding is that we are not this body. we are Jiva, who is a Jivatma, a soul inside this body. That is the actual realization or the understanding of your own self. When you say, who am I? I'm not this body. I'm a soul, because the body dies, the soul does not. Very simple. You'll understand that further in chapter 2 of Bhagavad-Gita. So if we think that the Jiva is there and the body is outer, that means it is a it or the or the or the Jiva or the Atma is a tenant inside a house. Think of it like that. Okay, if we think that we are not this body, we are the soul inside a case or a body, then we are a tenant inside a house. And when we are a tenant inside a house, so the tenant has to leave after some time, 40, 50, 80, whatever years, until the tenancy agreement completes. Okay, so when the tenancy agreement completes, the body is diminished and the soul is gone. Very simple understanding of death. But for example, if the body or the tenancy agreement is for 50 years, but we break that tenancy bond at 25 years, okay, right? Someone kills himself or is die by unusual circumstances. We're not supposed to die. He has to live 25 more years. So that person has to complete his bond, has to be here for 25 more years. And that is none other than the ghost. Very simple. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And then they like those ghosts, they bother like people.
That is a different thing altogether. This is the definition of things. That is
Yeah.
how you can think about a spirit or a soul who does not have a body, because the tenancy agreement is yet not over, but they have broken the bond.
Yeah. Yeah, I got your point. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very simple. Okay, any more questions or comments? So we'll end our discussion here today. We'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.